Welcome to Focus on Teens with Dr. Barbara Milton, licensed clinical social worker.
Thank you so much for
Today's
tuning in.
episode,
What I'd
Raising
like to do
Successful
today
and
is
Confident Teens.
share with you a book
Enjoy
from
the
a
program.
colleague and friend of mine named Kumari Gufor Davis, who's a social worker who has a lot of experience working with families and children. And she wrote a book called Real Talk, 10 Parenting Strategies to Raise Confident, Successful Children. This is the book here. Real Talk. Kumari Gufor Davis, MSW. There's a picture of her as well. So I'd like to share some of this book with you because she talks about lots of character traits that contribute to raising healthy children, young teens, and young adults. Things like self-confidence, integrity, character, loyalty, respect, education, wisdom, communication, strength, empowerment, discipline, core trust, listen, love, and perseverance. This book actually has a lot of good critical acclaim. Dr. Shelley Lanzowski, who's a pediatrician, said this book is a highly accessible, concise, and well-organized approach to parenting that can be easily understood and implemented by even the most harassed and overworked parent. A consultant with a private corporation said, "I wish I had this book when I first became a parent. These 10 strategies are full to the brim with meaningful wisdom, provides a proven roadmap to success for every parent, and Kumari's experience coupled with her remarkable skills will capture your attention and point you in the direction to raising confident, successful children." An author who also works with children and families said, "In Real Talk, Kumari gives the reader just that, practical advice, provided in a no-nonsense voice." And a medical doctor said, "It was a pleasure reading your book on parenting. As a child psychiatrist, I thought that the book was insightful and refreshingly easy to read." Kudos to you, Kumari. I'm really proud of my colleague here because I remember when she was just thinking about writing this book, and she got it done. She's quite committed and disciplined as a writer, as a practitioner. Reimbursements, no paid holidays, no stock options are offered. This job provides limitless opportunities for personal growth and free hugs for life if you play your cards right. So this was actually written by Annette Gifford, former columnist of The World's Toughest Job, which can be purchased online. So she starts this book off, with, as I said, a very clever tactic, which is to talk about the job, its never-ending responsibilities, your fervent wish that all the investment you put into your child will yield the kind of results that you want in terms of their independence and success in the future. And that, it's not thankless by any means. I mean, there are struggles. Sometimes it's more challenging, particularly as we talk about the adolescent years. But that's part of the responsibility. There are definitely hassles. There are definitely going to be rough times, hard times, times dealing with sickness and difficult decisions, and times where you will see some malaise potentially, and have to figure out ways to re-energize and motivate your child to do their absolute best. And as she says so eloquently, the rewards are many, certainly for the investment. So she, as I said, offers up some specific strategies. And these are the 10 specific parenting strategies that she employs to raise confident, successful children. One is called building self-esteem. how critical that is to figure out how to do esteemable things with your children. Uh, Effective communication as a strategy, being a role model, avoid putting your stuff on your children, teach your children how to choose friends, foster your child's strengths, know your child's core, empower your child, then trust their judgment, effective discipline, and advocate for your child. So these are the strategies that help parents to have better relationships with their children, allows them to navigate in all the places children need advocating in, like schools in particular, and in the community and in their peer groups. And these have been proven techniques both in the research in healthy child development, healthy teen development, but also in personal experiences of many parents, in particular with Kumari. So let's talk a little bit more about these specific strategies. And what I really like about this book is she gives you an introduction to every one of these concepts, and then she sort of has a workbook here for you so that you can, take notes and actually do some of the exercises that are in the book, which I think is really brilliant. Building self-esteem. Parents need to fill a child's bucket of self-esteem so high that the rest of the world can't poke enough holes in it to drain it dry. That's a quote from Alvin Price. So what we know is that there's some important characteristics of self-esteem that really hinge around us noticing the good and the positivity, the positive traits and characteristics of children. We can't have them love themselves. It's difficult to love yourselves if you don't fully embrace what it is about you that is lovable. And there are ways that you can communicate this to your child and your teen. It doesn't stop in adolescence. You have to continue to do this from a young age into young adulthood. So you want to make sure you give them praise about the things that you see that are the positive traits so they can internalize what is positive. What are their strengths? In fact, you can give them praise around a number of things. You could say how capable they are and how you notice their smarts. You could compliment them on their appearance, on their style, on their dress, their particular talents. You see them, taking an interest in sports or taking an interest in singing or fashion design or music, whatever it is, to notice it and compliment it. You can compliment their character when you see that they may use manners when they're around the elders, or they hold the door for someone quite unexpectedly. You say, that's really good character, polite, very polite gesture. When they use good language, proper language, the language you can be proud of that they're using. You can make comments and praise them about the personality that they have, that they could be helpful, gentle, kind, even-tempered, level-headed, that kind of thing. You can give them compliments about the choices they make. You know they're staring at a big exam on Monday, and Friday night they're tempted to go to the mall with friends or to go out and hang out, but they're make a decision to stay at home and to do a very measured and disciplined approach to studying for that exam on Monday morning. And you can recognize that and compliment that and say, I see the choice you've made. You made a choice to focus in on your studies and to do well in your exam on Monday. And anything about them that is unique, that speaks to their individuality, which is really important to do. It might be a certain style, a certain phrase they say. Could be a certain hobby that they're interested in. They may, walk a certain way. They may something that screams out as this uniquely your son or daughter, and to complement that. We have to make them feel good about what they excel in, what they enjoy doing, who they are as a person, as well as what it is they can strive for and achieve. And a core component of that certainly is if they have a positive self-image of themselves. So some of the questions you can ask yourself as a parent are how do you instill positive self-esteem and self-confidence in your teenager? What kinds of conversations can you have or have you had when you think your child is struggling in their life? What practices do you put in place to ensure that they know their self-worth? We can ask our kids questions such as, do you think you possess good qualities? What type of qualities do you think you possess? Do you ever talk to yourself about your good qualities? What are some things you feel you need to work on? Do you want to get better at the things you struggle with? How can I help you feel good about yourself? How can I help you feel that you have support? Self-esteem, very important strategy. Second strategy she talks about is effective communication. People need validation to feel worthy. They need to know they're being heard and seen. In Africa, in Ghana, they say akwaba. Akwaba means I see you. Like namaste, I see you. And it's very important that people feel understood and heard. A huge part of communicating, we think sometimes means talking, but really the most important component of communicating is listening. And we have to be better at listening to our kids. They oftentimes feel very misunderstood. When they have something going on in their lives, you can usually tell because they act a little different. And it's really important for us to pay attention to what's taking their attention. What is it that is on their mind and getting them to communicate about it? Now look, if they're struggling, they'll become less talkative, they'll show signs of depression or sadness, they might isolate themselves, they might have some agitation or anger, they might start hanging out with different people, right? So, if they're ignored, if we don't take an interest, we run the risk of that sort of thing happening. So if we're absent, if we are more focused on our work and we're never around, we're unavailable, if we nag and all those kinds of things, we risk having a good relationship with our child and not connecting or noticing them. So in order to have a solid relationship, it's quite important to be a good listener, to check in with your kids, take an interest in what they're doing, right? Tuning in to what they're doing, getting them to talk, even the difficult conversations. I saw something on Facebook today where another colleague of mine put the question out about how difficult it is to talk about sex with our teenage children. And yet, they're probably learning more about it from the TV shows and the music they're listening to, and certainly from their conversations with peers. I guess depending on what school districts you're in, because this has become quite a politicized matter, even though this is health, learning about our bodies and reproductive systems and the functions of our reproductive systems and how they work and diseases and that sort of thing. But if you're in a district that teaches health, you'll learn about some of these things. But parents rarely talk to their kids about it. It's like we're all sort of uptight about it. That's true for my family too. My mother had a really difficult time even talking to me about the menstrual cycle, right? So we have to do better than that. Because again, in 2016, young people are learning information, and sadly, there's a lot of misinformation that they're taking in, and it would be good if parents could sit them down and tell them really what's happening in their bodies And there are lots of resources in the community to assist parents, particularly here in Hudson County. There's Horizon Health, and they have health educators that can work with parents about how to talk to children about, their teenagers about their reproductive system, their bodies, sexuality, sex, and sexually transmitted diseases and that sort of thing. So we're quite lucky in Hudson County. And the root of that, however, is being willing to talk, being willing to check in with your child. I mean, we should assume, even if it's uncomfortable, that we can certainly take the chance to do that and not ignore it, not talk about the elephant in the room sometimes, particularly when they start dating, particularly when you start seeing some of the sexualized behavior potentially. It's important to talk about it. The next strategy that our author asks us to consider is the strategy of being a role model. What you teach your children is what they really believe in, according to Kathy Werner Weatherford. Let me tell you, I worked in a school district once, and I'll never forget it. I was struggling with, I was providing therapy to a student who was struggling in school, actually, and had a real temper issue, very angry and quite impulsive with the things she would say, pretty angry and verbally abusive. Got in all sorts of trouble in the classroom with her teachers and her peers. I mean, I never was the recipient of any of her anger, as I was providing therapy, and I didn't stress her out. I wasn't making demands on her as her teachers were. But I remember when one of the vice principals needed to call in her mother to address a matter with her about her child's behavior, her daughter's behavior. She's a 9th grader. And within about 5 seconds of the mother being in this meeting, she proceeded to curse out the vice principal and the principal. We had to bring the security guards in. She got violent and agitated. I mean, really, within seconds of being in the building. And I just thought for a second there that, oh my goodness, the apple didn't fall very far from the tree, right? So here, obviously, this is a child who has observed this sort of explosive verbal temper and anger and irritability from her own mother at the smallest demand, and she's inherited a similar way, the daughter, of responding to stress and demands herself. And that's what being a role model is. I mean, children pick up bad behaviors. They see how you respond to pressure. They see how you handle money. They see how you drive. They see how you dress. They see how you bathe and take care of yourself. They see if you go to the doctors and make appointments. They see how you handle dealing with people in stores and restaurants. I mean, our children, from the time they're born, I guess ongoing, as they're looking at us for ways to, how do we survive in the world? What do we do in the world when we encounter situations? So the very first layer of understanding how to navigate the world is what you model as a parent. So you model the bad stuff. They unfortunately can run the risk of inheriting the bad stuff. You model the good stuff. That stands to reason they could quite also inherit that, mimic that, model that. I mean, it isn't exactly, A causes B, because there are lots of influences in the lives of children. So, it's really like, what are they exposed to by all of the adults in their lives? But parents, primarily, they're looking at you. How do you deal? How do you handle emotional situations, high stress situations? How do you behave in a certain situation? What language do you use? So role modeling is really, really important. If they're exposed to violence, they have a better chance of being violent themselves. So, The things that we're supposed to do is protect our children from what they see and hear. Protection is really one of our fundamental and core responsibilities as parents. We're supposed to keep them out of harm's way. We're supposed to give them wisdom by talking to them about making proper choices, teaching them right from wrong. We are trying to teach our children to stand up for themselves. We teach them about honesty. We listen to them. We value their opinions and ideas. Right? So this is very important. What do we model for our kids? Do we show them that there's accountability for our actions? Do we tell them that there's courage and humility in saying I'm sorry if I'm wrong? Do we show them what right and wrong looks like? Do we show them how they should talk to people, how they should communicate with people? And do we expose them to healthy relationships, which is really important for their intellectual, emotional, and social growth as well? Look, parents aren't perfect. Parents are people. So, people argue, people lose their cool. But how do we process that with our teenagers? How do we process that with our kids? How do we let them know, as a matter of course, this isn't the way you really want to handle something? Right? That we're human, we're not perfect, we're not robots. But, we can respond inappropriately sometimes. And that's how we learn life's lessons, when we, are human and make errors in judgment. When we do the wrong thing sometimes. So ask yourself, do you feel you're a good role model to your children? Do you try to watch your behaviors and actions in front of your children? Do you think there are ways that you're selfish when it comes to parenting? Are there any behaviors, words, or actions that you think you could change to be a better role model? Critical. It isn't a bad thing that children want to help their parents when they're having hard times. Some of it's about the way the parent, seeks proper help for their problems. Not saying that their sons and daughters can't help them, but parents should be reaching out to other caretakers and have adult friends that they rely on to assist them when they're venting about their stress. I always say to parents, when you're going to vent about a stressor in your life, take it up to a peer, to a friend, to your higher power, to God. Don't vent down to your kids. They don't have the brain capacity to really handle your stress and the stress they're experiencing every day. It's overwhelming for young people. And it could cause them to make some bad decisions and some bad choices. And we need to guard against that. We have to give them their best shot, their absolute best shot at success. Don't put your stuff on your children. Right? And look, maybe you were very good at bowling, let's say. My mom probably could have been a professional bowler. And I tell you, one of my most unpleasant experiences is going to a bowling alley with my mother. Why? Because she thinks I should be a professional bowler too, and I don't like bowling. But oh my God, she wants to put that on me, that stress of being a good bowler. Because I was a good athlete in other ways. But I don't like bowling. It's as simple as that. She's putting her stuff on me. And, keeps me out of bowling alleys. Has done it for 50 years. And we do little things like that, we force our kids to do things they don't really want to do because it's in our mind they should be doing it. Do you listen to your children when they say, I'm not interested in that? Do you talk negatively around your kids? How much negativity do you expose them to about the bills and other things? About you're not feeling well, about your lover problems, about your job problems, all those kinds of things really should be taken up to discharge and not placed on your young children, certainly not your teenagers. So we got through 4 of these, and we'll pick up the rest of them in our next episode of Focus on Teens. I think responding to a lot of calls that I've been getting and emails that I get where people want some very specific information about parenting teenagers, and I want to respond to that by doing a couple of these informational episodes. And I will not abandon the mission of also providing a platform for teenagers to speak their truth, to speak their stories on Focus on Teens, because I think it's critical that we allow young people to tell their stories. And so I appreciate you listening today. Remember, the name of the book is Real Talk: 10 Parenting Strategies to Raise Confident and Successful Children. And this book is written by Kumari Gufar Davis, and we'll share some more of it in the next episode. Thank you so much for watching Focus on Teens. Have a great night. And those are doctor's orders.